smash. Hey guys, welcome to another wonderful day here in Alabama. I say wonderful, it's actually drizzling and the temperature is dropping rapidly. But I'm in the shop and I've got a 94 Honda Accord in here today, and I'm going to be doing spark plugs, the power steering O-rings, and I'm going to be doing an oil pan gasket. This thing's got a lot of oil leaks and we're trying to get it all fixed up and get it tuned up. So if you want to, and there's some particular part of this that you would like to watch, you can just scroll on the timeline at the bottom. So down here, if you'll just scroll on the timeline, I'll break it up into the sections. Thanks for checking out the video. Go ahead and hit the like button for me. And at the end of the video, make sure you stick around if it's helpful and leave me a comment and subscribe. That'd be great. Appreciate it. So yeah, let's get to the video and get this stuff knocked out so that the customer can have his car back. So this is the F22 VTEC. It comes equipped in like a 94 to basically 97. This is basically the same engine like 94 to 97, and honestly the 98 to 02 is very similar to this one too, the F23 VTEC. And I'm just gonna kind of walk you through how I go about doing this stuff. So like I said, we're doing the spark plugs. They're under all these. We're gonna be doing the power steering O-rings. They go here and here, and this kind of makes the power steering fluid foam up and make a mess when they start leaking. And then the oil pan gasket's on the bottom of the engine. So. Okay, so I'm gonna start with the spark plugs. It's fairly simple. So all you have to do is just pull the spark plug wire out, just grip it on each side and pull firmly, and it'll come up out of there. And if you would like to, these little plastic pieces will come off the metal bracket here. Just wiggle it a little bit while pulling up, yeah, like so. And the same over here, and then you can take all four of those out, and you can see they're all different lengths, so you don't really have to worry about mixing those up. And then you can take the spark plugs out with the impact. I don't recommend putting them back in with the impact. So there we have our spark plug. This one's wore out, the little electrode in here, it's pretty far gone. So these are probably the original spark plugs, honestly. All right, so I don't know if you're new to the channel or not, but I'm gonna do my little pitch right here for spark plugs. Always use NGK spark plugs and the correct ones for your application. You know, like if your car has coil-on plugs, don't use the cheap ones like these. If you have regular spark plug wires, these right here are fine. All right, so use the OEM equivalent. You know, like if you had coil-on plugs, you'd use like the Iridiums or something like that. But all right, so don't ever put no auto lights. Don't ever put any whatever AutoZone special is in there. Don't do that. NGK or Denso. I'll do Denso too. One of those two, and that's it. Without that, your Honda's gonna run like crap. It may run good for a second, but it's gonna run like crap. Just trust me. Don't do it. And also, you can see here, this is the old spark plugs. See how the little electrode in this in the middle there? It's just wore down. It's got the big gap in there. Let me get one of these new ones out and I'll show you what the new one looks like. You can see these are actually a better plug. See how it's got the little fine point in there? Yeah. There we go. There we go. All right, see how it's not near as big of a gap in there. This gap is massive. But yeah. So we're taking out these NGKs and we're putting in more NGKs. Yeah. So if you're interested in doing the NGKs, that is the part number for this car. You can get these at AutoZone. I think I ordered these on Rock Auto. All right, enough of my soapbox, whatever. All right, like I said, don't ever put these in with an impact. So I just put it in and use a ratchet, and you'll feel it when it starts to get snug. All right, so it started to get snug and you see where it's at there. I kind of just go maybe like, about like that, done. Don't over tighten it. Don't overthink it, right? So we're just gonna repeat this process for the next 3. Also, these plugs are already pre-gapped. No need to gap them. If you get the correct ones for your car, most all the NGKs come pre-gapped. All right. So that's all there is to this, and then you can put your spark plug wires back in. Just like so. Clip them back down right here. Good to go. Make sure these are pushed all the way down until they clip on. You'll feel them snap. But other than that, you're ready to go. I'm gonna take these back out because I gotta do more stuff. Well, I finally got my parts to do the oil pan gasket and the power steering O-rings. However, I got ahead of myself and started taking a little bit of this stuff apart without documenting it. So I'm gonna kind of go through that real quick and show you kind of what I did. All right, so it has this bar here. It goes beneath the oil pan here. It has 3 14mm bolts that go through here and 2 that go back here. Take this out. Like I said, those are 14mm. All right, and then it has this little down pipe from the header. And it's got 3 14mm nuts up here, one here, one right here, and one over here. So this is like some penetrating oil that I'd sprayed on there. And it has 2 12mm nuts up here. And then it has the exhaust pipe, which goes up and connects to here. And it has spring bolts. Like these spring bolts, 14 on one side, 12 nut on the other. And then if it had a converter, it would have like a hanger that would go to here. And I think the other one connects to the crossbar. But this one don't have a converter, and this one's OBD1, so it don't need a converter. And we don't have emissions in Alabama either, so that's a big factor. But once you get these bolts out here, this can come back and disconnect your O2 sensor. It disconnects right here. And you just have to push the tab down on top of it, right here, to slide it off of this. Then you push this tab down right here to slide off the bracket. It goes here. All right, so once you get this part off, then you've already got this part unbolted, and it just comes right out. Like so. All right, and then this piece is a little dust shield, and it goes up here like so. It's got 3 10mm bolts that holds it in, 1, 2, and 3. Once we get that out, we can use our 10mm. You can see I've already started taking some of these bolts out. But the 10mm, you can see I still got to take these out. But all the way around the oil pan. Also, make sure you drain the oil from the drain bolt here. It's a 17mm. I've already drained the oil out of it. Make sure you drain it before you pull the oil pan, or you're going to make a huge mess. And it's probably still going to make some mess, even having drained it. Because the drain plug don't get every bit of the oil out, but just be careful when you take it down. So I guess now, we'll put the camera up and finish taking the oil pan out. So I've got all the bolts out, and now I'm just going to take a small pry bar, just kind of put under the edge of the oil pan here, until I get it started coming out. A lot of times these like to come on out, but there's still probably half a quart of oil in the oil pan that is left. So I'm gonna go ahead and get that drained out too, and then I'll show you how I get this old oil pan gasket off. All right, so if you've ever tried to remove an oil pan gasket from one of these, over time they get really stuck on here very good, and they're very hard to get off. Sometimes I've in the past I've tried to get these off, and they just usually come off in pieces, they break apart, and they leave a nasty mess, and just overall a pain. So today I'm going to show you how I've learned how to do this with relative ease. So the first thing you're going to need is like a little propane torch like this. You can get these at most home improvement stores. And what we're going to do, get this lit up here. So what we're going to do is take the torch, and we're going to heat up the bottom side, not the upper side of it, but the back side of the metal. And then we're going to heat up the back. See, it's nasty, so it's going to be smoking. And then we're going to take our pry bar. Once it starts warming up, it'll break loose. You can use a flathead or whatever you got to do this. But you'll notice that it starts to come off. Once you get it started, it's not that bad. So you see how it went ahead and got under it. So now we just keep working our heat around. All right. And as we work our heat around, we just kind of follow it with the bar. All right. Make sure you're doing this in a well-ventilated area, because the smoke does stink. All right, so we can see it tore there. So now we just continue on around the other way. No big deal. All right, so you can see it's taking it off clean. Now some of this here is just taking the paint off of it, but that's irrelevant anyway. So now I'm just going to continue taking this off, and probably just put this on some time lapse. All right, so it's a little late in the day now. I had to go take care of some family stuff, but I went ahead and finished removing that gasket, and then just threw it through part cleaner real quick just to get the oil off of it, because it had a lot of oil on the outside. And you can see it's not perfectly clean, but it's better than it was. I have not scraped this at all whatsoever, and you can still see it has a little bit of the Honda bond left on it here. And my heater just kicked on, so I apologize. I'll clean up the little bit that's left on there, but as you can see, like, this surface is ready. I didn't leave any of that old gasket on there, so you see how handy that is. And just for reference, if you've ever taken one of these gaskets off, you'll be lucky to get it off in 3 pieces like this. So that's the 3 pieces that came off with me. You know, it broke a couple times. I just kept on going with it. So that's my old gasket. And now I can reinstall a new one. I've already, let me get my light here. I already wiped down the block mating surface here just with a shop towel and some brake cleaner. That works pretty good. Just removes like the oil residue from it. All right, I'm gonna try to make this quick. This gasket I got is a Felpro PermadryPlus. I've never seen them for the Accord. I use them all the time for like the B series, but these F series, I've never seen one for any other motor besides the B series. They work excellent on the B series, so I decided I'd give it a go for this one. Hopefully it works just as good. It costs about probably almost twice the amount of a regular oil pan gasket, but at least on the B series, man, they can't be beat. So it looks pretty good. So this is the PermadryPlus. The difference with this is a rigid gasket. It has a little metal strip in the middle of it. It keeps it from squishing out like the regular gasket would do. These right here on a B series motor, they're like bulletproof. So we're gonna try it out with this one. And this right here is your part number. It's OS30632 Tango. It's the same part number besides the T on the end. I think the regular gasket has like a R or an S on the end. The T is what you need though. It's not available at AutoZone. I tried to call up there and see if they had it, but they don't. So this one came through Rock Auto, but you can get them at, I know O'Reilly's carries them if you have an O'Reilly's near you. It comes with a little tube of black RTV silicone. It comes with these little studs. If you want to, you can use these little studs. They basically screw up into where the oil pan was. And then, I'll just show you. So they basically just thread up into where the oil pan goes into the block, and the oil pan slides over it, and it's the little clip here holds the oil pan up. I don't ever use these. I have a bunches of these that have never even opened from the B series stuff. So, but yeah, you can see the gasket is rigid. So it's a little different than what you would normally get, right? Because normally the ones you get, you can't do this. But like I said, it just has a little metal strip right in the center of it. I don't know if you can see that or not. You may be able to see just a tad of silver in there, but I'm telling you, these gaskets for a B series engine are the truth, man. So hopefully we'll have the same results with this one. So let's get putting it on. All right, so I'm using a same tube, but this is from an old B series kit, and it's already dried up, so I just cut it in the corner of it to make it work. But I'm just gonna put a little bit right here in this groove. All right, so you can see I didn't put a ton there. And I'm gonna put some right here along this flat area. If you have any questions about where the RTV needs to go, you can look at the gasket here, and it has like little grooved areas where they recommend putting some. See how it's got the little grooves right here? So that's where we're gonna put it. Just like so. Now I'm gonna do the same on the top side of it. There you go. You see, it don't take a whole ton of it to do it right. That's all we got to do. None of these other areas need silicone. All right, so if you're putting silicone in those areas, you're just wasting silicone, man. This gasket is not going to leak. All right, so let's stick it up in the car now. All right, so like I said, I've already cleaned this mating surface here. I'm gonna wipe it down one more time just to make sure it's good and clean. I'm just using some blue shop towels for that. Nothing fancy. just to make sure it's decently dry. You can see the transmission and stuff over here. It's pretty nasty. This thing had quite a few oil leaks. Grab a couple of the nuts that hold it up here. And what I was talking about with those little studs, you could thread them into like the little holes where the bolts would have gone, and then once you install the gasket, yeah, it's just more hassle to try to do it that way. So just do it this way. Got it onto the studs. There we go. Put a nut on the front and one on the back. And now it'll sit up there, and we can go around putting our little bolts in and get them torqued down where they need to be. On these, the torque spec is like 8.7 foot-pounds, so if you want to torque it down, you can do so. I never torque it, I just hit it with my little impact and call it good, especially on this gasket. And if we were using the OEM style gasket, I would probably be more inclined to actually do the torque spec to keep the gasket from smushing out. This gasket right here is a beast. So what I'm doing, I'm just going like from the center and kind of working out in each way. So centering it out, centering it out. I mean, technically you should go kind of crisscross and working centered out. And I'm kind of doing that to an extent, but this thing's not gonna leak. So this part is tightened up now. If you want to, you can go back across it with a ratchet and just make sure that it's tight. So I'll do that real quick just to make sure they're all kind of torqued where they're supposed to be. I don't want to over tighten them because they will break. These things are, the M6 bolt is not incredibly strong, and you can snap them relatively easy. So just don't over tighten them, but we want them good and snug. And again, if you want to hit it with a torque wrench, 8.7 foot-pounds. All right, so now we got to reinstall our little dust shield for the torque converter. This thing is nasty. This thing has had some oil leaks for a while. All we gotta do there, stick our exhaust pipe back in here. My light went out. I guess you can still see though, right? I just can't see as good. Let's see. So on this, start on these back two first, and then get it on your bolts up here, your studs. It'll be the easiest way. All right. Two back here, little 12mm nuts. And up here we've got the 314s. So we got the upper one tight. I'll tighten these two right here. All right, put our exhaust pipe back on. Alright, put our two spring bolts back in. Exhaust right back here. Reinstall O2 sensor. Can't really see that, can you? Let me see. There we go. You can at least see the front when I'm doing here. So the little 3 14mm bolts. And 2 14mm bolts holds it on the back side, like right here. We'll tighten those real quick. So that pretty much wraps up everything on the bottom. So now I would recommend going ahead and putting a new oil filter on it while you're down here. That way you can go ahead and change the oil when you're done, because you're going to need to put oil in it. So I just changed this oil filter like half a month ago. So we're not going to do the oil filter right now. But yeah, everything down here is done. So now all you got to do is let the car back down, or if you're on the ground working on it, crawl out from under it and put the oil in it from the pipe. But this job is done down here, so I'm gonna let the car down. All right, so the last thing left is the power steering O-rings. So it has one O-ring behind this little fitting here, and then one O-ring that's under this. So all we have to do is take the 10mm out here, and this O-ring slides off of this, and then to take the 2 off of this, and then we'll use our little gasket pick to take the O-ring off of that. So this is the part number for this one. All right, and then this is the part number for this one. So that's the 2 O-rings you need. I mean, they're just little O-rings, nothing special. And now, let's get them off. All right, so as I previously mentioned, all you need is a 10mm. I've got an electric ratchet here. You don't need an electric ratchet. You can use a regular ratchet or a wrench or whatever you can get on these 10mm. I also have a gasket pick. You can use a flat screwdriver or whatever you need. To do this one, you just take this one out here. I've actually already replaced this one, but I'll just show you for video sake. So you just take this one out. All right, and then this fitting just pulls out, and the O-ring just slides off the end here. So, as I said, I'd already replaced this one. It's actually still up in the pump. So it's just this little O-ring here. Slide over the fitting like that, and then just slide your fitting back in there, and then tighten the bolt. Simple as that. This one up here, just take these 2 10s out. And this would be where you actually need the gasket pick to get the bolt or the O-ring off of this line, because it's in a little groove on here. So just use the gasket pick. Pick it out. Alright. And we'll install our new one in there. So it just goes over the line, back into that groove. Alright, and you can take a little bit of the old fluid and just put on it to make it where it's not dry fit. Push it back into the spot where it goes and put these bolts back in. Tighten it down, it's done. Alright, now if you've lost a lot of fluid, you just refill the fluid here. This one looks full. And also, Hondas take specific power steering fluid, so don't just put some generic power steering fluid in it. Get something that's Honda or Acura recommended. So you see this here comes from O'Reilly's. I buy it from O'Reilly's because you can get it in the quart. Anywhere else you have to buy it by a pint. But you see here it says Honda and Acura purpose, or Honda multi-purpose. So make sure it's Honda compatible. Other than that, you're good to go. So if you needed some fluid, just put it back in here, and there's marks on the side where the full line is and all that stuff. So now all I'm gonna do is clean this up and we're good to go. All right guys, so there you have it. Now, after watching this video, you can successfully replace do your power steering O-rings, spark plugs, and the old pan gasket. So also, if you're new to doing any of this stuff, it's pretty straightforward and you can do it yourself. Hopefully I showed you all the tools that you'll need to do the jobs yourself, and most of these tools you'll have just around the house. If you don't have a specific tool you need, you can always run to the parts store, and a lot of the parts stores actually do a loaner tool, so you can actually rent the tool and take it back, and whenever you give the tool back, you get your money back. It doesn't really cost you anything. So hopefully this video helps you out. If it did, please hit the like, comment, and subscribe. Those are 3 things that don't cost you anything. They help me greatly. I really do appreciate it. Thanks for tuning in. Be sure to check out the other videos on the playlist for the 94 to 97 Accord. And good luck. See you next time. Peace.